watching. For sponsorships, please contact 080 Leadership for God and Country.
To your favorite program on television, The Big Issue. What are we going to be looking at from Big Issue today? It is Nigeria's 1,411-man delegation to United Arab Emirates, Dubai, COP 28 that has doubled participation for the past 10 years. This is the big issue we are going to be looking at. My name is Winifred Bebo, and of course, as you can see, I have with me in the studio an in-house analyst, Chibuzo Okaibe, and I also have virtual, he's going to be joining us virtual, Paul Wadima. You guys are welcome to today's
Thank you very much.
program, The Big Issue. And of course, my name is Winifred Bebo, your host on the program. Don't forget, the big issue today is on Nigeria's 1,411-man delegation, which has continued to generate controversies in the land. Like the saying goes, a hungry man is an angry man. Of course, Nigerians are not taking it so easily. Even though the federal government has come out to debunk that, no, they didn't have 1,411 members or Nigerians on their payroll, they only sponsored 422. Nevertheless, Nigerians are not having it easy. Chibuzo, maybe you want to throw the first salvo.
Yeah. Well, it's pretty interesting that that delegation, scenario has occupied, the media
The
space
public space
for a while, and I think it's justifiably so, because this is a time where many people felt, okay, the government shouldn't be spending, so much on such on trips that shouldn't engage so large a delegation.
Considering the present economic reality.
Exactly.
Nigeria.
But for some other people, for me, I wasn't too surprised, because
you were expecting
nah,
it.
I wasn't surprised.
Okay. But
Because,
however, many people feel that during the UNGA, that is a United Nations General Assembly that took place in New York in September, USA, the president said, no, anybody that doesn't have any business going to US, you stay behind. I don't want to see you there. So many people were also expecting President Bola Tinubu to wear the big stick this time when it comes to foreign trip.
exactly why I said I wasn't surprised that we are having all of this talk about the big delegation all over again, even after taking that kind of position like you just recounted. Because coming into this government, there was so much talk about running a lean government.
Yes.
Considering the state of the economy. But what did we have? We had a bloated federal cabinet.
Yes, cabinet.
We had people being appointed left, right, and center at a time where people were, quite expectant that, government would tighten a bit and cut off, any
other extra.
Exactly.
Extras.
But we didn't have that. So I don't think anybody should be surprised that we're having this kind of scenario.
Now, before Paul Wadima, you will share your views, I just want us to have that video of Nigeria's delegation to COP 28, that is Conference of Parties 28 in Dubai. Can we have that video? It's courtesy of Arise Television. Yes, this is Nigerian delegation in Nigerians
Watch your back, Go.
But going forward, I think now that we have this, now that we have all of this drama play out, perhaps they should learn a thing or two about this But I will be, maybe as we go ahead, I will be much more interested to see what comes out of this whole delegation, out of
At the
this
end of the
whole
day.
experience,
Exactly.
because we've been engaging in this kind of program for
Jamboree.
some time now, but it doesn't seem as if
It doesn't
the
translate
bulk
to.
of exactly, the bulk of what happens when we go to this kind of meetings does not seem to play out. This is
Alright.
the first time this administration is engaging in this, so
Okay.
the expectation will be very high, even though the last administration came up with, there was
Now,
little
Paul,
to nothing we could
you
see
are
from them.
there. What are your thoughts? You just saw some, at least not all, like Chibuzo just said that it doesn't portray the 1,411-man delegation the to COP28 in Dubai. So what are your thoughts? You just saw it's something that has been generating controversy in public discourse. What is your view on that? And I want to ask you, what was the benefit of that large delegation to the event?
First of all, thank you for having me. Can you hear me very clearly?
Yes, I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Go on.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can hear you.
Can you hear me very clearly?
Yes.
Okay, you can hear me. Thank you very much.
Chibuzo, you can hear
Now,
me.
first of all, there is no justifiable reason for the crowd that went to United Arab Emirates. Because even if we are to go by the number of about over 400 delegates that the federal government admitted that they sponsored, you can see that what would they all go to United Arab Emirates to do? Because if you look at it this way, what are the essence of the summit? The essence of the summit, one, is to see that the reduction of carbon dioxide emission was reduced to 1.5 degrees centigrade. That was temperature emission, that level that was being debated for. That's what they want to achieve.
Network hitch. Now, I'll throw the question back to you. What was the benefit of that large delegation to Dubai?
Of course, the government will always give a reason, try to do an explanation of why they took that large delegation. But like Mr. Paul rightly said, I don't think there's a justification for that. Put side by side the state of our economy at the moment. If we had a very vibrant economy and all of that, they'd be fine. And the justification they tried to give was that, Nigeria is a major player in Africa, and
the large population,
exactly, the largest economy and all of that stuff. But when you put that side by side, like I said, what has been happening in the course of the last couple of years we've been engaging in this, I don't think much has been done out of all of that engagement we've had when we attended some of these
events.
So I am yet to see any clear justification for why we had to go with that large number of people.
Okay.
That kind of.
Now, even despite the outrage that has continued to trail Nigeria's 1,411-man delegation to COP28, but a senator, however, came out to say that the money even spent is paltry. That if you calculate how much is it that Nigerians can afford, that to his own mind, the money is small. So it's not something for Nigerians to rave about. Senator Jimo Ibrahim.
Well,
so do you think, don't you think that his call was quite insensitive? Many Nigerians say that his call was quite insensitive considering the plight of Nigerians who are wallowing in hardship.
I had to say, what would you expect? This is the same set of people who benefited how much? 160 million.
Yes.
The vehicle thing that happened with them. So what do you expect? They will always want to justify these kind of things. But like it has been said virtually everywhere, this delegation was needlessly large when you compare what we have to deal with economically at the moment. There was no clear justification for why we had to go with that large number of people. A lesser number of people could have achieved the same results from that same meeting. So but the bigger picture is we hope to see what they get to do with the resolutions reached at this year's COP engagement.
All right. Now, right here on our screen, we have statistics of Nigerians' participation in previous COP events, that is convention of parties. And starting from 2013, COP19, it was held in Poland, and we had 49 delegation. In 2014, that is COP20, it was in Peru, it took place in Peru, and we had 50 delegation. In 2015, COP21, it was destination France, it was 87-man delegation. 2016, COP22, destination Morocco, we had 81 delegation. 2017, we have Germany, it was in Germany, 46 delegates. In 2018, COP24, it took place in Poland with 107. I think that was where the marked increase came about. And in 2019, COP25, it was in Spain, and we had 53 delegates. In COP 2021, COP26, it took place in UK, where we had 87-man delegation. Last year, 2022, COP27, it took place in Egypt with 120 participants. However, this year, there was really a marked increase. We have from 120 last year, took place right now in UAE, Dubai, with 1,411 participants. Now, from attendance of previous events, talking a bit about 10 years now, that's why we said Nigeria has doubled participation in 10 years. I want to find out from you, what has Nigeria actually benefited from COP since inception?
Well,
I don't know. Is Paul still there? Okay.
Well, it's first of all, I think we should say kudos to Statisens for really putting to context.
Yes.
You know, the marked increase between last year and this year. We have 1,411, and the last one was 120, barely a year ago. So it tells you how outlandish this delegation is, if at all, you know, because from all I know, what came up from last year when they engaged, you know, that process was absolutely nothing.
Yes.
I'm not sure there was anything concrete Nigeria came back with and started to implement. Of course, the major discourse for last year was how they were going to ensure Africa gets to, you know, engage fully in reduction in, you know, greenhouse, climate change thing, and how they were going to compensate Africa if they have to do that and cut back and all of that. You know, that was the major discourse at the time. But as for Nigeria, I'm not sure we did anything markedly
and
to reflect any resolutions reached at that level.
Yes.
Because I can tell you, for the last administration, one of the first things the administration did was to go to Ogoni and said, oh, they were going to do something about
clean the environment,
clean up the environment in the Niger Delta and all of that. But the whole of 8 years, nothing happened.
Nothing has been done.
They kept, you know, kicking the ball down the road and continue to make promises and give explanations as to why they couldn't do that. And that was a critical climate issue at the time. You know, so if anybody has to say, okay, there was any justification for attending those kind of meetings, those are the kind of things, those are the kind of indicators we would have seen to really know that, okay, the government was really serious about this. Now, that is for the last administration. As for this administration, as we speak, I've not seen any clear indication as to whether how serious they are about this, you know, real issue that we are having to deal with. The first indication would be to see how they deal with the emission of gas in the Niger, what effort they will make to convert all of that, you know, and reduce the gas flaring situation. We've not seen any policy yet.
The government has to be able to do that.
Exactly. No, I'm even talking about this one now.
Penalties.
I've not seen any clear indication, any clear direction, any clear policy in that direction. Maybe they have, but it doesn't seem as if they have.
But during his speech, we saw some video snipers of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's speech, and he said that obviously maybe they are going to increase fines on some of these multinationals still flaring gas in the Niger Delta. But they have been doing that. They have been doing fines, and of course, it's really paltry. That is why we see that most of these multinationals operating in Niger Delta are not really keen on divesting of that.
When there are no strong implications and there are no strong measures and there's no strong backing to policy statements.
No,
This is what you-
Chibuzo, what is actually also lamentable is the fact that Nigeria's delegation is a third on the list. The second, the first is China, followed by Brazil and Nigeria, which is just struggling with its economic issues, had also the third largest delegation. And this is what is not also sitting well, because it said you cannot rank Nigeria. Nigeria cannot rank itself with China,
Of course,
one
we
of the
can.
most developed countries as of
And
today.
this is a country we
If
are
not the most
we go
developed.
seeking loans from.
Exactly.
You know, we've been going to them seeking for loans, and here we are trying to rival them at the level of people we bring to the education. Like, so they look at us and say, okay, you want to rub shoulders? Okay, fine, let's see how it goes.
And also too, in some of these forums, when you go there, you are expected to send, file in your reports and make submissions, what happened at the event and all whatnot. So what is going to happen? Why is the federal government going to put all this together from 1,411 delegates?
It's really going to be interesting to see how this government begins to take issues like this, because the next set of actions they will take with the backlash that has come from this will be a clear indication
That-
as to whether they really consider what Nigerians feel at this time.
Exactly.
So it is really critical that they sit back, and yes, they've tried to put up a defense. They've tried to put explanations, give explanations as to what played that, that the number of people we sponsored
It's actually
were these and not
422.
all of that number. But I think if they really go back and reflect, they should understand that Nigerians are quite keen on seeing that they act in ways that reflect what they want Nigerians to do. You can't be telling Nigerians to tighten their belts, and you engage in processes over and again that tend to show that, okay, there's this larger than life thing about us, and we are not ready to make the kind of sacrifices you're asking people to do. A lot of indicators are already gone out. The one I mentioned earlier was that of the 160 million cars, the million cars for lawmakers. That was an sensitive one. We've also had the needless, overbloating of the cabinet. And all
Yes,
of that.
exactly.
So
That
these
one
are
is also-
things that
it's
do
also
not
there.
give the kind of indication to Nigerians that they are ready to make the kind of sacrifices that you want them to do, just as you asked.
And you also saw the kind of entourage the president had when he visited Lagos. That also drew the eye of Nigerians. Anyway, we are going on break. When we come back, perhaps Paul would have logged in by then. Don't go away. The program is The Big Issue. Stay tuned. Program on television, The Big Issue. On this week's topic, we'll be discussing on Nigeria's 1,411 delegation to COP28, which doubles participation in 10 years. Of course, with me in the studio is an in-house analyst, Chibuzo Ukaibe, and Paul Wadima, who joined virtually. Fortunately, the network is not friendly at this hour. Now, before we go, I want to ask you, for transparency's sake, don't you think the federal government should declare and tell Nigerians how much was spent on the 422 delegation, which it claimed it had?
Well, since it has decided to explain and give explanations as to why, people shouldn't assume that they paid for all of those people. Maybe they also would have gone the extra mile by saying, okay, this is what was spent,
Yes.
you know,
Exactly.
for the whole of this trip. But I think there is also a table and a pattern for a rate for what they pay per, you know,
Per
government
diem.
official per diem
Yes.
and all of that. It's already
Okay.
public knowledge.
Okay.
So these are things, you know, they should be mindful of next time when they
Okay.
embark on this kind of.
All right. Thank you so much. Now, just before we go, Paul, you have logged back. Paul, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes.
I can
So,
hear
what
you.
are your thoughts for transparency's sake? Don't you think the federal government
hear
should
you
tell
clearly.
Nigerians how much was actually spent on that for 422 man delegation he claimed it took to COP 28? For transparency's sake.
That would be the most noble thing to do for the sake of transparency, accountability, and good governance.
Okay.
There is a need to know how much that was spent for the over 400 delegates. This is because we are in a time when they are telling the whole country that people should tighten their belt, that the government don't have money or to do so much for the country. So every penny that is spent at this time, Nigerians ought to know what was spent. That would be good if they can be able to have the courage of their own conviction to do it. It will be necessary. In fact, the international community should also make such a demand from them. Given the state of the economy of Nigeria, we cannot afford frivolities in terms of expenditure. So it will be good if the government will do that, but it's doubtful if they will go the whole mile and give us breakdown. But if they want to, you know, there is a trust deficit between the government and the people. But if they want to build back the confidence of the people, they should make it public so that Nigerians can know how much was spent for the summit. At least it will give a direction to what should be done next time. Because as I said earlier on, there is no justification for over 400 people going to that summit, because the key things that we want in that summit was to agree on reducing the emission to 1.5 degrees centigrade. It is to ensure that there is a climate fund to help developing countries like Nigeria cope with the impact of climate change. That's one of the things that was expected. And to see that there will be zero emission by 2050. These things I told you are the key three things that they have gone there to do. And 2 people or 3 from the Ministry of Environment and President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and a few others could have been able to table Nigeria's case. They don't need that crowd to be able to tell Nigeria's position on this very key issue, because these are the 3 main issues that took them to Dubai. It is to make sure that Nigeria had a say on these 2 major issues. The other ones, the other crowd that when they basically went there for literally for jamboree. But these 3 key things: Nigeria's position on the establishment of the climate fund, which is to help the developing countries cope with the impact of climate change, the issue of zero emission by 2050, and the issue of gas emission, so that temperature reduction to 1.5 degrees centigrade. These are the key major things that this summit was expected to achieve by the leaders of the world. And you don't need such a large crowd to be able to make your own point on this issue.
All right. Thank you so much, Paul. Just before we go,
I hope
lessons?
Yes.
Okay. Are you hearing me, or is he talking? Paul, are you hearing
I'm
me?
hearing you.
Okay.
I'm
Do you
hearing
think
you.
that lessons have been learned?
I'm hearing you clearly.
So I'm asking, going forward, do you think that lessons have been
No,
learned?
the lessons that have been learned, I believe so. I believe that the outrage by Nigerians about the large crowd, I can bet you that the next summit that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu will go to, the crowd will not be this much. I'm sure of that. They are not going to do it again. That's one lesson that have been learned from this. I'm sure that they will not go with such a large crowd. They'll be very careful next time. And even next time, they should also, like I suggested, very few people from the Federal Ministry of Environment and a few other stakeholders in the environment sector can be able to go there and tell the Nigerian story about the impact of climate change and what we want to achieve. And we don't need a big crowd to go and do that. And it's also important to find out these three key issues. Were they able to achieve it? At least the setting up of the climate fund. Because a lot of African countries, including Nigeria, we are suffering the impact of climate change, but we are not the world's major emitters. The major emitters are the developed countries, okay? And we needed such funds to be able to assist us to cope with the challenges of climate change. And what is important is to see that this fund is set up and that the whole world agreed to set it up and put money into it, especially those who are the major polluters of the environment, who are the creators of the climate change that we are talking about.
All right, thank you so much for
you understand what I'm saying?
Issue. Thank you so much, Paul. I look forward to having you on the program subsequent editions.
Thank you for having me.
Chibuzo, same to you. Thank you so much for your time and your presence here today. And of course, if you are just logging in, we'll be talking on COP28, Nigeria's 1,411-man delegation, doubles participation in 10 years. That has been the big issue on today's edition of the show. And with this, we end today's program. I'm Winifred Ugbebo. I look forward to seeing you same time next week on the show. Bye.
Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.